Okay. Mm. Hmm. Okay. Just trying to read the Chinese characters, but okay. Very. Okay, can't. Yeah. Mm. Anyway, that's another lifetime, not this life. This life, born in the wrong country, so can't read them. Okay, so let us get on with the questions for tonight. And so we are just going to start. Just one second. All right. So the first question here is as follows. I strive to live the teachings of the Buddha and have become detached from family and material things. Is this being unfilial to my parents? Um, detachment doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean that you don't do the right thing by your parents. Detachment is a mental quality. It means that you are no longer so affected by the world around you. Yeah, so if you are detached from your parents, what it means is that if your parents are, if they want to argue with you, you don't really enter the arguments. That's what it means. It means that if your parents are having some kind of trouble, it doesn't trouble you so much. You can deal with it much better. Detachment means you're not emotionally involved in the same way that you used to be. In fact, that is a benefit. If you want to do the right thing by your parents, if you are less attached to them, you can actually do better usually because you are more emotionally stable. You have more ability to see what they really need. Yeah? Okay, what do they really need? Okay, you can be kind of cool. You can observe it from a distance instead of getting emotionally dragged into everything. That is a benefit. It's the same thing if you have children. If you have children, you don't want to be too attached to your children because then you end up doing all kind of silly things. Yeah, then you get upset very easily. You get angry and all those kind of things. But if you have a bit more distance to your children, you can be more cool. Yeah. So if your children, if they are naughty, yeah, you don't get so angry. Okay, this is the wrong way. Please don't do that. You can be more kind of matter of fact rather than getting upset with them. So that is a benefit. So being detached means being more cool, less emotionally volatile. That's what it means. More even-tempered. Yeah, so it is good. So it depends what you mean by detached. Sometimes when people say detached, what they mean is that they kind of are pushing away, but emotionally they are still involved. That is the wrong kind of detachment. Yeah, it is not about pushing people away. It is about becoming mentally more secluded from the people around you. Less emotional involvement. That's really what it means. So you have to understand detachment in the right way, and when you understand it in the right way, then it becomes positive. And then you can help your parents, you can do your filial duties, when the time is right for that. Okay, sometimes you have to, it's good, to look after your parents. I'm a monk, I try also to look after my mother sometimes. She's now living by herself, and so I try to talk to her once a month or something like that to make sure that she's okay, and she so just to do the kind of the right thing by one's parents. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, dear Ajahn, when we are very sick, there is a kind of Buddhist practice to chant mantra, wishing the sickness to go away. Seems like it is not accepting, asking for something different. Does it contradict our practice of accepting, letting go, and going with the flow? What should we do? Thank you. Yeah, so doing the mantra and wishing it to go away, it's difficult not to wish the sickness to go away. Yeah, it's hard not to do that because no one really wants to be sick. But ideally, you know that wishing is not going to make any difference anyway. Can doing a mantra, can it be helpful? It can. It can because sometimes doing a mantra can make you peaceful, can make you relaxed, yeah. If you know the meaning of the mantra, it can lift up your mood and all of these kind of things. So it can be helpful, but don't do it as magic. Do it because it has some kind of positive effect on you. It makes you feel better. Then it is much more powerful. Yeah, so do it in the right attitude, in the right way, and then it can be useful because of that. So that is the right way of thinking about it. But ideally, yes, you come to an accepting, okay, this is the nature of the body, and so you accept this is the nature of the body. You do your best to overcome without too many desires for overcoming, because you know that at the end of the day, it is not within your control to overcome it or not. If you are lucky, then the medicines will work. If you're not lucky, well, then the medicines will not work. Yeah, okay, so you don't know what's going to happen. And so you shrug your shoulders, you do your best without really being too attached to the outcome. That is the ideal. And then you do some metta. Yeah, sometimes these, as I mentioned yesterday, some of these very serious illnesses like cancer, etc., they feed on our anger. Yeah, the body and mind are very closely connected in the Buddhist teachings. And so if you are an angry person, it will tend to affect your body in a negative way. And you know that because you can feel that if you have some strong negative emotions, your body feels tight and uncomfortable. Yeah, it's kind of obvious that the body is affected by the mind. So if you are sick and if you develop a lot of loving kindness and compassion and these kind of things, then the chances of illness are reduced, and the severity of the illness goes down. Yeah, and don't worry about whether the illness comes from karma of the past or not. Don't think like that. That's kind of irrelevant. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Just make the best out of a difficult situation. Then you are on the right track. So this is the kind of attitude to have when you are sick. Yeah, and and actually this is the right attitude always, even if you're not sick. So develop that now. So when you eventually get sick, because you will get sick. Yeah, that's guaranteed. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate reality. And then you will be ready when the sickness comes. Okay. So this robe is refusing to attach to my body, falling off all the time. What to do? Sometimes attachment is useful. All right. So, dear Ajahn, just now you mentioned that. Just now, okay. I'm not sure when that now is, but anyway, or was. You mentioned that you sometimes argue or disagree with Ajahn Brahm. So I would like to know how Ajahn Brahm will usually react. Okay. Wow. Usually he will just ignore me. Yeah, he will say, okay, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't want to engage with me if I want to argue. Now you have to be smart. If you want to have an argument, if you want to discuss something with Ajahn Brahm, you have to be smart about it. Yeah. If he feels that you are you have some axe to grind, or you want to prove a point, or you want him to agree with you, if you want to control him in some kind of way, he will dismiss you straight away. He will have nothing to do with you, yeah? And he will look in a different direction and pretend you don't exist there. Something like that, yeah? He will not be interested. So you have to, if you want to disagree, you have to do it in a nice way. You have to say, oh, Ajahn, what do you think about this, yeah? And then he will say what he thinks. And then he says, oh yeah, but is it possible to look at it in this way as well, right? And then you can have maybe a discussion. But you have to listen to what he says. And sometimes he will have a very important point, and maybe your question disappears, yeah? And maybe you don't disagree after all afterwards. Maybe it is okay. So this is kind of how you have to. You have to be. If you're very nice with Ajahn Brahm, he will usually respond in a good way. But if he feels that you are out to argue with him, he will have no interest in you. He doesn't want to argue with people. And one of the beautiful things about someone like Ajahn Brahm is that he doesn't hold on to anything. So even if I am really rude, if I'm really rude with Ajahn Brahm, okay, and I'm really bad, I especially when I was a young monk, or sometimes maybe I was a bit rude, right? And then it's as if he doesn't do anything for Ajahn Brahm. He doesn't become upset. He doesn't hold on to anything. And so the next day, it's as if you were never rude to him in the first place, even if you do argue a little bit too much. It's this feeling that everything is forgiven straight away. There's no holding on to anything. Yeah, with most people in the world, if you are rude or you treat them badly, sometimes they don't even talk to you afterwards, right? I spoke to somebody who was here that said they hadn't talked to somebody for 20 years. And with Ajahn Brahm, that's impossible. Yeah, it doesn't even last 1 second. And it doesn't matter what you do. Even if you kill him, he will love you. Yeah, this is kind of the beauty of someone like that. There's no holding on. You can't really offend someone like Ajahn Brahm. It's impossible. Forgiveness is there almost straight away. It's very nice to live with someone like that because it means you are free. You are free to speak your mind, free to say what you want. Yeah, you should only be careful because of bad karma. That's why you should be careful, but not because you are afraid of somebody, doing retribution or anything like that. Yeah, it's very beautiful. And some of those qualities of Ajahn Brahm, I've never met anyone in my life quite like that. It's very kind of lofty virtue and ideals. It's very rare to find anything like this in the world. And this is one of the reasons I took Ajahn Brahm as my teacher. I just felt there's something special about this person. Very rare to find anyone quite like that. And so that is what it's like to be with Ajahn Brahm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Do I always agree with Ajahn Brahm? No. And it's okay. Yeah, you don't have to always agree. What is important is that you agree on the fundamental ideas of Buddhism. If you disagree about fundamental ideas, then it is a big problem. But, there are many things, ordinary things in life that you can disagree about. Yeah, and that is okay. And it's nice to be able to disagree with somebody. You don't have to agree about everything. And it was nice. I had a discussion with one of the ladies here today. She came up and she wanted to discuss with me various things. And I'm not sure if we agreed either. We probably disagreed a little bit. And that's kind of nice. Yeah, it's nice to be able to disagree. So you are all free to disagree with me. And if I become upset because you disagree with me, I have a problem. Yeah, you can check me out. You can test me out to see see what happens if you disagree with me. You can shout at me and see how I react to the shouting. No, please don't do that. It would not be nice. Yeah, I shouldn't encourage you to do stupid things. So please, please don't do that. But it's always like a test, right? Everything in life is a test, and so this is why it's actually okay in a certain sense. All right, so let us go on to the next one. Okay. I think that's good. Okay. So, what are your views on tattoos and body piercing? Seems society is sometimes a bit prejudiced against them. They can be just as compassionate and kind, if not more. You mean the people, right? Yeah. So, yes, I mean, I think one of the reasons people are prejudiced is because in the old days, the people with tattoos were the dodgy people, right? The kind of the mafia and the triads, they had tattoos, so you knew who belonged to that triad. The pirates in the world, they had tattoos, yeah? When the seamen would go overseas and they would come back with tattoos on their body when they went some places. So it used to be dodgy people who had tattoos, but these days, everyone seems to have tattoos. Anyone here with tattoos? No? Okay, you don't have to raise your hand if you have a tattoo. Yeah. I also don't have a tattoo, so we're kind of becoming the rare people in the world. They're the ones without tattoos are the rare ones. Yeah. Look at some of the monks, the new monks in Bodhina, the young ones, everyone has tattoos. Lots of them, right? And they are really good people, so you're quite right. Doesn't make any difference. That is not what makes you bad or good. So it's neutral whether you have a tattoo or not. It's kind of irrelevant. Okay, you ask yourself, why are you getting the tattoo? There may be good reasons, there may be bad reasons. If you want to get the tattoo because you want to scare other people, because you have like a kind of a skull and crossbone or whatever on your or whatever, then it's a bad idea. But if you have a tattoo because you want to be reminded of the Buddha's teachings, you have here the tattoo about, then it's kind of nice, right? Then it's okay, because you want to be reminded. So you have Sabbe Sankhara Anicca on your arm, or something like that. But Ajahn Brahm said when he went to England, there was this lady, she had the tattoo, she had a face of Ajahn Brahm tattooed onto her arm. Yeah. Ajahn Brahm was like shocked. How can you do that? That's really over the top. But if you do that, it's kind of nice because you want to be reminded of something wholesome. Yeah? So that is not bad. So like with all things in life, it depends on why you do it. That is more important than anything else. But usually I would say it's neutral. People just want to decorate their body or whatever, and it's kind of, okay, decorating your body, maybe that's a waste of time, but anyway, it's a kind of, it doesn't really matter, right? It's kind of irrelevant. So body piercings and tattoos, don't judge people by these things. Don't judge people by what they look like. If they have weird clothes and weird hair, I mean, I've got pretty weird hair, yeah. You also have weird hair, yeah, you're just like me. And we are okay, so it must be okay to have kind of weird hair and weird clothes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, good point. Don't judge people by these superficial external things. Yeah, that is really, really stupid and not advisable. So, and sometimes I kind of like people who are a bit rebellious, people who go against the stream, people who want to be a bit different. Because if you are going to be really successful in life, you have to go against the stream. Most people are not really successful. Most people don't find happiness. The Buddha was rebellious, right? The Buddha went against society. And we also have to be a bit rebellious to really have success. So being rebellious is not a bad sign. So if someone is doing weird stuff, say, okay, maybe they have potential. Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it. Okay. Okay, I don't think I have seen any monks who are disabled. Why is that? Can temples be more accessible to people with disabilities? Well, one of the reasons is that there are some rules in the Vinaya against ordaining disabled people. And the reason for that, I think, is because it was difficult for the Sangha 2,500 years ago to look after people who were disabled. Yeah, it was actually hard. And sometimes people who were disabled, they would want to join the monastery because they were outcast in society. And then the Sangha becomes burdened with all these people who just find refuge in the Sangha because they can't make a living, and then it doesn't really work anymore. But in the present day, things are different. Yeah, in the present day, it is people who are disabled, they usually have places they can go anyway. They will be looked after by society, depending a little bit on what kind of society it is. But in places like Australia, if you're disabled, you will be looked after. Society will make sure that you are okay. There are institutions and things for disabled people. And I assume the same thing here in Hong Kong, probably, I would guess. And then it is a bit different. And then if someone really is desiring to become a monk or a nun, even if they have a disability and it's not going to be a burden for the Sangha, I think we should probably allow them to ordain. Yeah? It is actually not, if you do allow them to ordain, it is actually a valid ordination according to the Vinaya. And so it wouldn't really be a problem. There are certain people that are impossible to ordain regardless. Even if you do ordain them, it's invalid. So if for example, if you ordain a man who is less than 20 years old, then the ordination is invalid regardless of what happens. But if you have a disability, it is not invalid as such. It is just not recommended to ordain them. So it is a good question, and so thank you for this question. And I think that is something that we should consider. If in the future, if there is a monk or nun who wants to ordain who is disabled, we should consider that, indeed. Do we have people with disabilities coming to the monasteries and temples? We do, but these are more like lay people coming to the monastery with disabilities. Yeah, we have that in Perth. People coming in wheelchairs sometimes, and we have wheelchair accessibility to our buildings to make it possible. And that's nice. People with disability also need spiritual support. So it's important that we do that. And so that is certainly happening there. Sometimes we have people even with mental disabilities coming to the monastery. So that's also nice. They can probably find some sort of support in the kind of spiritual teachings of a monastery like that. So we should be inclusive of everyone. If spirituality is not inclusive of everyone, it is not really worthy of its name. We should have compassion for everyone in the world, regardless of their state and regardless where they're at. Otherwise, we're not living up to these teachings of the Buddha. Okay. Do you keep a journal? No. In fact, try to keep the anti-journal. Yeah, try to delete things straight away. So as soon as something happens, try to forget about it. Don't try to forget about it, just move on. Don't think about the past. Keeping a journal, I think, is a bad idea for a monk. Even for a layperson, why keep a journal? Your life is moving forward, and you're experiencing new things. You need to meet those new things with a fresh mind, and hopefully the future is better than the past because you're practicing in a good way. So why hold on to those past things? Maybe you can keep a journal sometimes if you have a nice insight. Maybe you can write that down. But even those insights tend to become stale. The insight is powerful at that moment. And if you try to remember it by reading about it again, it has become stale very often. It doesn't re-arise in the same way. You need to allow fresh insights to arise. So keeping journals, I don't think it is very useful. I certainly don't keep one. And one of the things that I find very problematic is all the pictures that we take. Yeah, we take pictures all the time. We try as if we're trying to hold on to the past. And you will notice whenever we take a picture, everyone says, "Smile." Yeah, gee, smile. And because we say smile, it looks like the past was always happy. Yeah, so we look at the pictures, wow, the past, so happy. Yeah, wow, the past was so good. But it's just delusion. The past wasn't happy at all. It's just that everyone smiled because the picture is taken. That's all. That's the only reason. Actually, it was miserable. So we should stop deluding ourselves. We should be miserable on the pictures. We should look really bad on the pictures. That's kind of my idea, yeah? This is what I mean by anti-journal, yeah? The kind of opposite of what we normally do. So next time, Della, you order everyone to look really miserable in the picture, yeah? That will tell us the truth about the past. The past was worse, the present much better. And then we don't, because it's kind of funny how people, they look in the kind of the, I remember my father, he was master of this beautiful picture. In the old days, when you took pictures and you printed them out, you had an album you glued in, and he would make drawings and he would write in there. It was kind of this piece of art, yeah. And but always it looked really beautiful. And then, of course, then when you get old, you think back in those days and think, oh, in the old days, wow, it was so nice. Yeah, wow, look at this. And you're living in the past instead of living in the present. And this is, of course, a problem. Do you recommend keeping one? Okay, I think I've answered that already. Is there anything that a journal is good for? Yeah, maybe what we again, if the pictures are supposed to be ugly and look miserable, then write down the dukkha in the journals. Yeah, keep a journal of dukkha. Today I had this misery and that misery. Today this happened, it was terrible, real dukkha. Yeah, today was absolutely terrible. I hope the future gets better. Keep on writing down all the dukkha. So you remember that the past actually wasn't all that great. That's the kind of journal I recommend. Okay. Could you tell us more on contemplating death when we meditate? So I've already talked about that quite a bit, and so hopefully that will do, and see if you can use that in as part of the meditation, but also as part simply of contemplating life. I recommend when you wake up in the morning, first thing, I can die today. Just to kind of start the day in a nice way, right? I could die today. It's very useful. If you get used to this idea of dying, it's actually a very peaceful way of starting the day. And then when you start your day in that way, it means you treat the people around you better. Yeah, you're leaving your house, going to work, or going about the ordinary things. How do you treat people if you're going to die today? If today is the last time I will see all of you. Will I treat you well, or will I treat you kind of badly? I will treat you well, because that is what we do when we see people for the last time. And so it is a very nice way of starting the day. A little bit of death contemplation, in the morning. As you're having your breakfast, you think about death at the same time. Something like that. It's a nice combination. Coffee and death. Okay. I hope you don't take everything I say too seriously, because... Dear Ajahn, can a person believe in both Christianity and Buddhism? Thank you. It depends. It depends what you mean by Christianity, and it depends what you mean by Buddhism. And I would say that there are many things that are similar. There are basic ideas such as being kind and being a good person are obviously the same. And so to that extent, you can do it. There is meditation sometimes in Christianity. There are Christian people who do exactly the kind of meditation that we do, watching the breath and these kind of things. And that those mental states that you can achieve, the samadhi, they can be exactly the same, whether you're a Buddhist or a Christian. There may come a point, however, when you may want to decide, okay, am I going to be a Christian or am I going to be a Buddhist? There often comes a point, because one of the fundamental differences is that if you are a Christian, you believe in a creator God. You believe in some kind of God that underlies the world. And that idea of a creator God goes against the idea of non-self. Non-self means emptiness. It means that there is no underlying principle in the world which is always there, always permanent, always present. And so if you want to go beyond, from a Buddhist point of view, you want to go beyond that, and you want to understand the emptiness inherent in all phenomena. To be able to do that, you have to let go of the idea of a creator God. The creator God gets in the way. And I don't understand why people want to believe in a creator God. I did talk about that yesterday. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I never understood that idea. Anyway, so can you be Christian and a Buddhist at the same time? You can for a while, but at some point you may have to decide what you want to do. Okay. It's very strange because I was born in Norway, and people think that if you're born in Europe, then surely you must be Christian. But actually, not at all. A lot of people these days in Europe, they don't have any religion. I guess it's the same thing in Hong Kong. People don't have a religion anymore. They are agnostics or atheists or whatever. And so I grew up in a completely non-religious household. My family wasn't religious. No one ever talked about religion. It was kind of completely irrelevant. And so for me, the Christianity was always very strange. It's kind of, to me, it was like a weird religion. I remember when as a small child, I kind of believed in God. When you're a small child, you don't really know what you're doing. And kind of you believe in God, you need someone to support you. That's kind of what children are like. But then when I became about 14 or something, suddenly one day it was like, God doesn't make any sense. And I kind of rejected the idea of God completely, and it never came back again. It was like, doesn't make any sense? Okay, out it goes. That was it. That was the end of God for me. And it was kind of liberating. For me it was kind of freeing. This idea of a God didn't really make any sense to me. So it depends a little bit about what we mean by God. It's complicated, these things. They're never really simple. Anyway. Dear Ajahn, the world and my environment is in a mess. How can I be calm and not get involved in it? Thank you very much. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The world and my environment is in a mess. So this is why we have to be detached. This is why we can watch the world and watch the environment be in the mess and still be peaceful within. This is kind of the trick. Instead of being dragged into the world, you stay back a little bit and you observe without allowing yourself to become part of that world. And so one of the ways to be calm is to make sure that occasionally you go on a retreat, that you have a regular meditation practice, that allows you to stay free and withdraw a little bit from that world. A mind which is a bit aloof, a mind which is a bit attached. Yeah? When you don't listen, don't read the news, forget about the news. Yeah, the news is always kind of terrible anyway. Don't read too much news. Some people are news junkies. Don't be a news junkie. Junkie is always bad, whether it's news or heroin or whatever. Junkie is bad, and sometimes the news becomes like the heroin for people. Don't get so involved with the world. Just understand that the world is inherently unsatisfactory. Don't get involved in the office politics. If you have to work in an office and there's always going to be some difficult people in offices, just stay a bit aloof. Just hold back a little bit from the world around you. Yeah? Be kind to people in a nice way, but don't get involved. Yeah. So this is kind of the idea. And as you practice the spiritual path, as you fulfill all the factors the Buddha was talking about, just the virtue, the kindness, the generosity, all of these kind of things, you build up resilience inside. You become resilient, you become strong inside. The building up of good qualities makes you a strong person because you have an inner happiness, an inner refuge which other people don't have. That allows you to deal with the problems of the world. So that's kind of where resilience comes from this path. You become more independent in your life. And then that allows you to stay more aloof from things. So if other people want to argue, let them argue. Don't get involved with those arguments. Stand back and observe instead. Learn from the way the world works. Understand the world through the filter of the Buddhist teachings. Whenever you see news, whenever you see people being stupid, remind yourself, the Buddha mentioned this. The Buddha said people have defilements. People are stupid. Everyone is a little bit stupid. I'm a little bit stupid sometimes. Hate to say it, but it's true. Sometimes a little bit stupid. So because people are stupid, they don't understand. It is to be expected that they will behave in a bad way. And so you observe that, and you learn from that. You learn, okay, if this is what people are like, why should I get angry? If I'm going to get angry every time people are stupid, I will always be angry. There's always someone who's stupid and say a wrong thing. Instead, have compassion for them because they are stupid without really knowing that they are stupid. They are blind. And how can you be angry with blind people who are ignorant, who don't understand what is the right way of living in the world? They are programmed. Someone came to me today and said, how can you be kind to people who are really, really difficult? And remember, people are programmed. The past has programmed them to be who they are now. They are more like robots. They're not really independent. They don't have any free will. They can't do what they want. They have to follow that program. And when you understand that, then you have compassion for them because you understand they are trapped by that program. They are trapped by that bad behavior. And you should have compassion for them because of that. Then you are doing it in the right way. Okay. Okay, dear Ajahn, I feel that consuming meat is connecting to taking life, as it involves the killing of animals unless the environment doesn't support a plant-based diet for survival. Can you provide insight on this topic? Thank you. Yes, I think not consuming meat, I would say it's good. I think it's a good idea. I don't eat, very rarely eat meat myself. I eat a bit of fish sometimes. I guess that's meat as well. I should probably stop doing that. But generally speaking, I don't eat that. I don't eat much of these things. It's very rare. So I think basically it is a very good idea. And I agree that, of course, if you don't eat meat, well, at least there will be less animals killed. Because of that. Because that at least those animals that you eat, they will not get killed because of that. That is good. So I think it is a good idea. So, and especially if you do it out of compassion and out of kindness, coming from a good place, then it's a positive impact. It will be good for your practice, and it will be good for those animals that are freed of that. So I think it is good. It is interesting that the Buddha did not lay down rules against eating meat. It's kind of fascinating. And it is known that the Buddha did eat meat. If you read the early Buddhist text, he was sometimes invited to eat meat, and he would have meat. So it's kind of fascinating here. And one of the reasons is because sometimes you don't have any choice. You are an alms mendicant, so you take what people give you. Sometimes people don't know, that you prefer vegetarian diet or whatever. And so, okay, people give it to you, okay, so you eat what they give you. And that, I think, is where that idea comes from, and that's why the Buddha didn't lay it down. But he didn't say anywhere that you should tell your supporters that you prefer vegetarian. He didn't say that. He just said that if the animal should not be specifically killed for you, that is what he said. So that is really the rule there. But as a general principle, if people ask me beforehand, usually I will say vegetarian is great. And I'm quite happy to eat vegetarian diets. So good. I think that's a good idea. So I'm supportive of that. Dear Ajahn, how to be a good, calm, and kind person like you? You don't know me. How can you know I'm good and calm? You have no idea. If I am not planning to be a monk, thank you very much. You just have to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, and as you practice Noble Eightfold Path, magic happens. You become more calm, you become more kind, and you may not become like me at all, but you still become kind and calm, regardless of whether you become like me or not. So, so just practice the Noble Eightfold Path. It makes you kind, it makes you calm. That is the purpose of that path. Reduce your interest in the world, have more interest in the Dhamma, that makes you calm. That's just right view, right? So have more right view, and as you have more right view, all of these things happen as a matter of course. So just live well. If you are going to be kind, you can't afford to get too excited and too uncalm. If you are going to be kind to people around you, the moment you get too excited or you get upset about something, you have to shut up, because otherwise bad things are going to come out of your mouth. And so you don't talk. So if you see me being quiet, it doesn't mean that I'm calm. It means maybe I'm in a bad mood, so I shouldn't talk to anyone, right? Maybe that's what it means. Maybe, maybe not. Unsure. So, but that is what it means. If you are very serious about being kind, it stops so many of the avenues for the defilements to express themselves. You have no choice very often but to hold back and to withhold and not to allow kind of your defilements to express themselves. So focus on kindness. Focus on thinking in the right way. How to learn to think about other people, to always have compassion, even, or maybe especially, when people are bad. They need compassion, the bad people in the world, because they don't know what they're doing. Okay, last two questions. No, that is a blank question. Yay, my favorite kind of question. Look at this one. Emptiness. All right, no. Okay, hi Ajahn. This is what happens when I meditate. Okay, now we're going to have a description of someone's meditation. Number 1, my mind wanders off and I pull it back. 2, my mind wanders off again and I pull it back. 3, my mind wanders off and I forget to pull it back. Until seconds or minutes later. And this repeats. Any advice? Thank you. Okay, that seems like typical meditation, for many people. That's how it goes usually. So, okay, so this is what I said initially, that why it is so important to establish mindfulness first. Because once you have mindfulness, it means that you can see what is happening. It's almost as if you are aware of the thinking mind. The mind never wanders off very far because you are observing at all times. So what you are saying here is that you forget. The observing is gone, the mindfulness is gone, and suddenly you are somewhere else, wherever it is, in the fantasy land or in the future or in the past or back in Perth in Australia or in your office in Hong Kong or with your family or on a holiday somewhere or whatever. You are not here, that's for sure. You are somewhere else. And the only way to stop that is to have so much mindfulness. You can see it happening here. And when you see it happening in real time, those thoughts lose their power over your mind. And you observe, and as you observe, they calm down. They calm down. They calm down. And that's why Ajahn Brahm always said to me, sit longer, because you haven't become peaceful enough yet. They calm down more until you stop thinking altogether, and all you have is that clarity of mind. So that is the ideal. So how can we give rise to that mindfulness? That becomes then the second question. And this was one of those two things I was talking about on the very first night. It was 2 days ago now, or whatever it was. So two things that you have to do. One is the right view. Not being interested in all of those things that drive the thinking process. Actually, those things are not really interesting. It's a waste of time. It doesn't get you anywhere. It's completely irrelevant. So you have to learn that perception, understand that these things are not interesting. You just round and round and round. If you want to get reborn, carry on thinking those thoughts. 'Cause that's what they lead to. They just lead to rebirth, right? And then you are on this treadmill, round and round and round, and all the dukkha follows along. So don't pay any attention to those things. Understand that the Dhamma is what is really worthwhile. This is the right view. The right view helps you to stay with meditation because it guides you to what is important. The other thing is that you have to enjoy the meditation. If you don't enjoy, you won't be able to stay with it. So enjoy. This is why this whole idea of happiness on the path we were looking at today, the various kinds of joys, are so incredibly important, because that is the glue that enables you to stay with a meditation object. It's what makes the meditation interesting for the mind, and then you stay with it. And this is one of the reasons why we should not try to push the mind around too much in meditation. Because if you push the mind around, do this, don't do that, no, don't go there, pull it back, pull it back more. And you keep on doing that. After a while, the mind rebels because it is not enjoyable. All this bullying and pushing the mind around, it's like you're bullying your own mind. All of that, it just has a negative effect on the mind after a while. The mind wants to rebel even more. So be kind to yourself. Be kind to your mind. Understand the causes that lead to the right results. Force is always the wrong cause. So if it doesn't work and you don't find any inspiration, then inspire yourself. Find these kind of things that we're talking about today. The fact that you're a disciple of the Buddha. Count the blessings in your life. You have so many blessings in your life. You are born in a good place like Hong Kong. You are reasonably well off. You have the Dhamma, the greatest teaching in the world, as your teacher. Isn't that extraordinary? It's just a miracle. You wonder how on earth, how come I deserve this? Wow, I'm a disciple of the Buddha. Do I really deserve that? I guess I must, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Wow. And isn't that great? And then you inspire yourself in this way. And then the mind becomes inspired, then the meditation starts to work. And so this is what you have to do. And then, if all of these things fail, which they probably will, this is kind of the nature of things. All of these things, you try them, actually nothing works. Then do something else in your meditation. Do the metta meditation. Do something which is more active, that makes your mind stay on the object more. Do some contemplation. Do walking meditation. Do something else. And then after a while, come back again. Don't sit too much. If you sit meditation trying to watch the breath too much, then if it doesn't work, it is not going to help if you try again and again and again. Do something else for a while. And then prepare the mind in a different way. Do some death contemplation. Do some walking back and forth. Do some metta. Contemplate some of these suttas. Whatever. All of these things are useful. Get to know yourself. And then you're going to be on the right track. A very important part of Buddhism is that it takes a long time to cultivate the mind. It doesn't happen quickly. I look at myself. I've been a monk now for almost 30 years. Pretty soon 30 years. And when I look at that time, there has been an improvement all the time for those 30 years. Gradual, but it's gradual. And often it's quite slow. And sometimes it seems like it stops for a while, for 6 months, nothing really happens, and then it kind of goes again. So you have to keep on going for the long term. And you have to be really committed. And as you do that, as you come back on these retreats, let's say you do a retreat like this once or twice a year, if you're practicing in the right way, you should see a little bit of improvement every time you come on a retreat. You're becoming more mindful. You're becoming more gentle. You're becoming more compassionate. Your ability to stay with the breath is slightly improved. Yeah, you see this gradual movement. And if you don't see that improvement, then you need to ask yourself why. And you have to say, okay, I need to commit more in ordinary life to kindness, to compassion, to generosity, and all of these kind of things. Yeah, and then the process will happen. But this is a process for very patient people. You have to allow the process to work on its own over time, year in, year out. Sometimes lifetime in, lifetime out, unfortunately. Okay, everyone. So I think enough. Certainly enough for me. I feel like I have had enough. So that's good. Let's just pay homage to the triple gem before we call it an evening, and then we will see you back again tomorrow morning and carry on tomorrow morning. Yeah. Okay. Sadhu. Excellent. Okay, so have a very good night, everyone. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Svakatu Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami